My boyfriend mocked me and thinks that I don't know how to repair a vehicle because I am a woman, so I am leaving him on the side of the road permanently. A single mom raised me. I never had a father figure growing up. When something broke in our house, I would teach myself how to fix it. And my mother always encouraged me to chase how mechanically inclined I was. After I met Nick's parents, his father bonded over our love for cars and fixing them. Whenever I went to Nick's parents' house, he and I would inevitably end up in the garage tinkering. Nick has always been insecure about how quickly his father and I developed a relationship. Nick is not mechanically inclined and has never shown any interest in cars. My relationship with Nick's father has been a sore spot in our relationship for a long time, which is why Nick lashed out the other day. We have been dating for almost a year, and what has always bothered me is how Nick does not believe in maintaining or taking care of his vehicles. Background. To give some context, Nick bought his new car about 5 years ago and has put about 70,000 miles on the vehicle. Since purchasing the vehicle, he has never had an oil change nor does he do any kind of regular maintenance. I would like to clarify that Nick's refusal to maintain his vehicle is not due to any kind of financial insecurity. Nick has an incredible job that pays him fairly. As a hobby and side job, I like to restore vehicles for profit. I am no mechanic. I mostly clean up the vehicles, do bodywork, and do paint restoration. However, I do have a fundamental understanding of cars and know how to do the basics. Story: Nick called me yesterday on my day off and told me he was about 10 minutes from my house and had a flat tire. He asked if I could come to help him out. I grabbed my tool bag and headed out. When I arrived, Nick had a flat tire, but his front left rotor was cracked. The rotor was part of the car's brakes, and his rim was bent to hell. I told Nick that his car was undrivable and that he needed to call a tow. Nick started arguing, telling me it was just a flat tire and not a big deal. I tried showing Nick how bad the damage was, but he insisted I overreact and just needed me to change the tire. I refused. And in Nick's own words, I started mothering him about how poorly he took care of his car. The argument got heated, and Nick lashed out at me and started saying things like, "Just because you have a set of pink tools and watch YouTube doesn't make you a fucking mechanic." After Nick said this, I started to pack up my tools and told him that he was right. I'm not a mechanic, but that he should probably call one because I'm not changing his tire. I left Nick on the side of the road, and he refuses to talk to me until I apologize for abandoning him. Am I the a-hole? Update. Vehicle update. Nick drove a Nissan Versa, and after I left him on the side of the road, he ended up calling a tow truck/mobile mechanic. When the actual mechanic got there, he told Nick everything I told him. The mechanic refused to change his tire and told him he would only tow his car to a mechanic shop. Nick refused to tell me what all the damage was to his vehicle, but the damage must have been pretty bad because instead of fixing his Nissan and wasting all that money, he decided he would just get a new car. Relationship update. Earlier today, I invited Nick over for dinner and spent the whole day cooking and baking Nick's favorite dishes. When Nick got to my house, he was in a wonderful mood and seemed to have forgotten/forgiven all about the argument we had. After small talk and finishing dinner, I took a deep breath and told Nick how much I cared about him, but that I no longer wished to continue our relationship romantically or otherwise. At first, Nick was shocked, but quickly, his shock turned into anger. Nick felt I was insane for ending our relationship over such a petty, unimportant argument. Eventually, Nick tried to apologize, but I told him that an apology was no longer something I was looking for. The whole time Nick talked, I sat on the opposite end of the table, listening with both ears, allowing him to say what he felt he needed to. When Nick was done, I looked at him and reminded him of some of the wonderful times we had together. I reminded him that we are both adults and can either end a one-year relationship with arguing in anger or end things on good terms and finish a lovely last meal together. Nick calmed down after this, and his tone of voice matched mine. We didn't talk for much longer, but luckily, I planned and had some tiramisu wrapped up for him along with a small bin of everything he kept at my house. Before Nick left, I hugged him and told him that if he ever needed someone to show him how to change a tire, I would be happy to send him a YouTube tutorial. Life update. Over these last few days, I decided to treat myself and buy my neighbor's old 1978 Ford Ranger Red. The truck is an absolute hunk of junk, and it will probably take me over a year before it starts to look somewhat recognizable. But I figured it would be more time and cost effective for me to over an old broken truck than it would be for me to fixate on broken men. I plan on staying single for a while and hope to take better care of myself and focus on my 3 German shepherds more.